the hush of this solemn day, we come to our hour of tears as we gather together in memory for those we've loved and those we've lost. Our morning prayers give way to afternoon mourning, to this precious moment gilded in both grief and love. Here we invite the fullness of memory to sweep over us as we envision dear faces and places from time gone by. Our loved ones may have left this earth, but their memories are here now among us as we open up the gates of our tears. In wave, the tears come, a torrent of emotion we can't always contain, as Yehoshua November captures in his poem how a place becomes holy. Sometimes a man will start crying in the middle of the street without knowing why or for whom. It is as though someone else is standing there holding his briefcase, wearing his coat. We who have grieved well know that our tears often come without warning, that bereavement follows no protocol, and mourning swells the heart according to its own whims and its own schedule. It doesn't announce itself or knock on the door of your heart. Suddenly, it's right behind you, writes poet Stuart Kestenbaum. Grief forces us to contend with its discomforting companionship whenever it arrives and however it appears. It's grueling, this work of grief, for it demands so much of us and separates us from the person we typically inhabit, such that we find ourselves wondering, when will the part of us hidden behind our grief reappear? Or to quote Rabbi Louis Iran, when will I be myself again? Some Tuesday, perhaps in the late afternoon, or Wednesday, same time or later? Here in this exalted place, these questions molded by our grief swirl all around us. They accompany us in and escort us out. They infuse our prayers with both urgency and hope. Dear God, receive our queries with mercy, even as we ask insistently and often impatiently, O source of life, will we ever return to wholeness in the face of our loss? Will we ever find peace with so much left unfinished and so many words left unsaid? Yehoshua November's poem continues. Sometimes a man will start crying in the middle of the street, and from beneath the rust of years come to his tongue the words of his childhood, I'm sorry, and God, and do not be far from me. These are but a few of the words we may offer today. There need be no end to our conversations with our beloved departed, for relationships transcend death, evolving beyond the finite, stretching into infinity. Even as we walk through the darkest and bleakest valleys of our lives, we recognize that love and friendship and devotion, shattered though they may be, abide. Thus is revealed this poetic truth. We must stand in the deepest shadow to see the clearest light. And in those moments, when we are trapped in the depths of grief, surrounded by waves of despair, let us take courage from the late Dr. Paul Kalanithi, whose parting memoir, When Breath Becomes Air, teaches us not only about the process of dying, but more importantly about the imperative of living. One morning, as Paul awoke racked with pain, he wondered how he could possibly make it through the day. I got out of bed, he wrote, and took a step forward, repeating the phrase from Samuel Beckett over and over. I can't go on. I'll go on. I can't go on. I'll go on. Especially in the wake of this past year, a year marked once again by the horrific pandemic, by countless natural disasters, and by the human tragedies of war and bloodshed. There are days when we feel we can't go on. Those are the hardest days, when our losses feel the heaviest, when our sadness feels the thickest. None of us is immune to such heartache. None of us is resistant to such pain. But even in the face of such suffering, we know the night still turns to day, the seasons still cycle through, the earth still shifts on its axis, and the touch of a hand still touches the soul, and the warmth of company still comforts, and the morning coffee still smells divine. And so we go on. We go on. Sometimes a man will start crying in the middle of the street, goes Yehoshua November's poem. It concludes, and just as suddenly the tears are gone, and the man walks back into his life, and the place where he cried becomes holy. In this hour of memory, our tears irrigate the soil of this sacred space, filling it with love and tenderness, hope and devotion. We sanctify this sanctuary with our collective sorrow, transforming these walls, these floors, these pews, and this room into one of hallowed memory. Together we will forge this path of remembrance, and together we will face all that arises along the way, the bitter and the sweet, the joy and the pain. As we speak the words birthed in Psalms, "O Lord, hear my prayer, let me cry before you." We honor those who've left this world, and we elevate this world in their honor. Zichronam livracha. May our tears imbue the memories of our departed with holiness, and may their memories forever be a blessing.